Hello and welcome to ARIRANG News Break. I'm Han-daeun in Seoul. We start with some heavy remarks coming from South Korea's biggest ally, the United States. The man next in line to lead American troops stationed in Korea says the U.S. needs to continue providing a nuclear umbrella to South Korea. He also rejected claims made by Donald Trump, the Republican frontrunner in the race for the White House, saying Trump has got his math wrong on an important issue. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
The incoming commander of U.S. Forces Korea has stressed the importance of South Korea being covered by the U.S. nuclear umbrella. Speaking at his Senate confirmation hearing in Washington on Tuesday, General Vincent Brooks said its removal could make Seoul contemplate its own nuclear armament in the face of threats posed by North Korea. He added that he could not see a time in the foreseeable future when the U.S. could or would remove it. The general also stressed that South Korea is shouldering a significant load of the cost for keeping the roughly 29,000 U.S. troops stationed in the country. He rejected Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump's claims that Seoul contributes next to nothing compared to what it gets in return. Brooks noted that South Korea paid some $880 million U.S. dollars last year, and the share goes up according to inflation every year. As well as paying around half of the total cost of stationing troops, the general says South Korea is paying more than 90% of the $10.8 billion to relocate U.S. troops to a massive new base in Pyeongtaek, south of Seoul. Brooks also emphasized the need for a U.S. missile defense system known as THAAD to be deployed to the Korean peninsula to protect the South from North Korea's growing ballistic missile threats. If confirmed, Brooks will replace General Curtis Scaparrotti as U.S. Forces Korea commander. Kim Hyun-bin, ARIRANG News.
North Korea is under some of the harshest multi-layered sanctions ever imposed on a country, but loopholes still exist for the regime to keep the money flowing. In an editorial for U.S.-based North Korea monitoring website 38 North, Andrea Berger, a deputy director of the Nuclear Policy Program at the Royal United Services Institute, says blacklisted North Korean firms doing trade with Namibia is a good case in point. Berger says that despite the sanctions, construction firms Mansudae Overseas and the Korea Mining Development Trading Cooperation are still involved in the building of a military base in the African country. She also mentions cases where officials from the latter went on trips via Pakistan to drum up more overseas business. Berger also accuses Russia of overlooking the international sanctions and allowing Pyongyang to sell blacklisted machine tools. The death toll from Ecuador's worst earthquake in more than half a century has surged to near 500, with more than 2,500 injured and 1,700 missing. The number of fatalities is feared to keep rising as many of the missing are believed to be buried under the rubble, and hopes of finding survivors is quickly fading. Also surging is the destruction after hundreds of aftershocks rattled the country, with the latest one a magnitude of at least 5.5 just a few hours ago. Ecuador's president says reconstruction may cost up to $3 billion U.S. dollars and cut gross domestic product by up to 3 percentage points. The government says around $600 million in credit from multilateral lenders has been activated to finance emergency efforts. And back here at home, Korea's producer prices edged down to their lowest point in 6 years last month, continuing the steady downward streak they've been on for a while. The Bank of Korea says the prices were down 0.1% in March from the previous month. The drop mainly came from lower electricity, gas, and other utility bills. They declined over 3% compared to a month before. With producer prices being a major indicator for consumer prices, it's widely forecast prices will remain low. The International Monetary Fund and the World Bank say they're joining arms with other international organizations to fight tax evasion. The move was prompted by the recent revelation of the Panama Papers. Park Jong-ong tells us more.
4 global organizations are combining efforts to tackle tax evasion. The initiative, led by the IMF and the World Bank, also includes the United Nations and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. The joint platform will collaborate on tax issues and developing new tools and standards to halt tax base erosion and evasion, with a primary focus on helping developing nations better combat tax evasion. The announcement comes on the heels of the leakage of the so-called Panama Papers that triggered an international outcry. The documents revealed the widespread use of tax havens and shell companies by global elites and corporations to hide assets and avoid paying taxes. For starters, the joint group will deliver what insiders call toolkits to developing countries to help them deal with corporations using accounting tactics to lower their tax bills. Another goal is to develop appropriate policies for the taxation of multinational enterprises. Park Jung-hong, ARIRANG News.
And that does it for now. Stick around for more news updates coming up at noon.